we said there are three fundamental questions, and the first one is, who am I? We have reflected a little on it, but we shall deepen a little more. So who am I? Of course, in general we can give so many answers, but in the light of the Bible, what can be some main answers? So, three aspects. Who am I in relation to God, or in reference to God, or concerning God? So, we have an answer from Genesis 1:26-27. And then, who am I in relation, in reference, in regard to the other? So we have there a reference from Genesis 4:9. And who am I in relation to my own self? We have an indication in John 12:24. A little bit we shall reflect quickly on each of these aspects. The first one, who am I in relation to God? Very clearly we are told, we are reminded that we are the image and the likeness of God. Therefore, who am I? I am the image and the likeness of God. But what does this mean? Because many times we say that. As I always believe in a simple way of reflecting, let us reflect, what does an image imply? A statue, a photo, all these are images. Now your photo, certainly it points to the original, that is you. Your photo certainly contains something of the original, that is you. Your photo certainly is similar to the original, that is you. And so apply the same to the image of God. So the first thing, if I am the image of God who is the original, the simplest questions are, do I show this original? Do I point to this original? Because as we said, every image must point to the original. Yes, it may be limited, it may be imperfect, but an image points to the original. So, do I point to the original, that is God? Or in other words, can others see something of God in me and through me? Can I show something of God in and through me? Do I become an indicator, a pointer of God? Saint Vincent de Paul, a contemporary of Saint Francis de Sales, once he remarked about Francis. If Francis were to be so gentle, so compassionate, so humble, how much more God who created him must be gentle, compassionate, and humble. So there what is happening? Vincent could see something of God through Francis. in Francis. Francis could show something of God to others. Therefore, how much I am showing God to others. If I am the image of God, I must lead others to God, not leading them away from God, not leading them astray from God. Unfortunately, sometimes it can happen if our life is not at least adequately credible and witnessing. It can happen that people are led away from God. As sometimes it happens, it is a fact. Sometimes you ask some of the people why you are not going to the church. In all their simplicity and sincerity, they say, how can I go, Father? I know very well about the priest. He does this and that, and then you want me to go to the church and then participate in that mass. Of course, it's not fully right because it is not a clergy-centered. The individual priest does not matter much. It has to be more God-oriented. But of course, that we need to educate the people. But however it is, certainly we have to admit that it is always priest-centered, which means the figure, the life of the priest matters a lot for the faithful. Whether we like it or not, for good or bad, always it matters a lot. And that's why in that context it is said, a parish priest visits a parishioner and then he asks him, my dear man, why you are not regular to the church? Because he does not say about him, but he says, what, Father, why to come to the church? People simply go to the church and then there is no change in their life and they continue to be hypocrites. Why to simply come? And then he says, parish priest says, of course, in a humorous way, very good, yes, we accept that those who go to the church may continue to be hypocrites, but my dear man, church is so large and spacious, it can always accommodate one more hypocrite. So the message can be clear. So, whether I am leading people to God or away from God, the danger is always there. As today, the quality of life can easily take the people away from God. And that's what I always say. If I am not able to take them closer to God, at least let me not take them away from God. As I always say, if you are not able to do good, sometimes it may happen as we were sharing, because it does not entirely depend on me. Various factors are there in life. So sometimes we may not be able to do all the good that we want to do. But then I say, at least this much we can do. Let us not do the bad. Because already not doing the bad itself can be something good. But what happens today, very many times you find people not only not doing good, but actively do bad. So, that's another quality of the image. An image, as I already said, an image contains something of the original. It can be very limited, it can be very much imperfect. But however it is, sometimes nose may be that way, but always an image possesses something of the original. If it is so, if I am the image of God, my brother, how much I have something of God, that something of God's gentleness, something of God's humility, something of God's love, something of God's sacrifice, something of God's selflessness, something of God's patience, something of God's generosity, something of God's magnanimity, something of God do I possess. As I said, yes, imperfections are there. That also we need to be very realistic. But at the same time, our imperfections shall not stop us from seeking to be perfect. Because our venerable patron Saint Francis de Sales reminds us, the very fact that we are struggling against our imperfections is a clear sign that we are on the road of perfection. So, the very fact I am struggling against my imperfection is itself a sign of perfection. In that context, he also remarks, do not expect to be totally free from all imperfections. And all the more, do not also, he says very clearly, do not expect the superiors and authorities to be totally perfect. He says, our imperfections will accompany us even to the grave. So that is why it will be too much idealistic and utopian to expect total perfection from ourselves or much more from others. Amidst all our imperfections, in spite of all our imperfections, can I really contain something of God, the negative and the imperfect? But then, often you may find the other way. And the third aspect of an image is like the original. Again, however limited and imperfect it be. An image is like the original, an image resembles the original. An image is similar to the original. If that is the case, my brother, you and I, if we are the images of God, the original, how much we resemble God? Though, of course, many times we say, alter Christus, alter Christus, alter Christus, it comes. Another Christ, but then sometimes limited only to the alter Christus. Just as it is said, some priests are BA priests and some are MA priests, not referring to the degrees. Yes, BA priests and MA priests. BA meaning from bed to the altar, and MA from meditation to the altar. So that also indicates about the preparation. And it can happen, good many can be BA priests. Okay, so am I like God? Do I resemble God? And why, my brother, sometimes we fail to be like God? I say the simplest reason is, I cannot be like something which I do not like. And in that context again, Saint Francis de Sales, our venerable patron, says, love makes the lovers alike. If you really love someone, you will become like that someone. And therefore, it is very clear, if I am not becoming like Christ, even after years and years, it means my liking for Him is not deep enough. We need not break our heads to find out the reason. If I really like Him and love Him profoundly, I will become like him. So, do I then like him and love him so much that I become like him? And then, going to the second, who am I in relation to the other? Here we have an example from Genesis 4:9 that is referring to Cain and Abel. Abel kills Cain. No? Cain kills Abel. Yes. Night, no, that's why just someone just want to test. Otherwise, sometimes people accept everything. Okay. That's what in our council meetings also sometimes, when they are for 2 weeks, 3 weeks like that, already after 1 week, 10 days, people get so exhausted, and especially when they are rather elderly people. So that's what we had, one elderly counselor in the team. So then after 1 week, 10 days, then he agrees to most of the things. Then he says, yeah, okay, consensus by exhaustion. So, Cain kills Abel. Okay. And then God asks him, my dear man, where is your brother? My brother. Not in the pocket. So he says, am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's custodian? Am I my brother's caretaker? Am I the keeper of my brother? Am I the guardian of my brother? Yes, my brother. We are the custodians. We are the guardians. We are the caretakers. We are the keepers of our brothers. Of course, in the positive sense. Which means we have a responsibility for the good, for the growth, for the happiness of my brother, and especially as religious, especially as consecrated persons. As I always say, we are bound by the bond of fraternity and by the duty of charity. Bond of fraternity and the duty of charity. We cannot escape from this bounden fraternal duty. We cannot be like Pilate, washing off my hands. I have nothing to do with that man. Let him hang himself. Let him go to hell. It is enough that I am happy. It is enough that I grow. No. And that is why Father also. This is one first thing which I did in a Morning Star. I found certainly there are some dull students and maybe their foundations were not so strong, minor seminary and then the preceding stages maybe. So some really struggle even with regard to the language. Then when they do not understand the language itself, how can you expect them to understand the concepts and especially philosophy concepts? And that's why I made a simple thing. I made study pairs. One intelligent and one dull, pairing them. And also I made groups, mixing intelligent and dull. So I told them, this is what I told them. My brother, it is not enough that you alone excel and get the highest. You have a duty also towards your brother. I will be much more happy that you get 80 and then you help the other to get maybe 50, 60 rather than getting 90, 95 and the other one is failing. I said, you should not look out for someone else. We need to help ourselves. So we have a fraternal responsibility. Do I feel that? brother, how often we can be so insensitive, indifferent, unconcerned towards others. Unfortunately, today in the religious congregations, as Pope Francis also, maybe we shall take it up again in the context of our reflection on community life, he gives 3 very main reasons why today the charm and beauty of religious community life is diminished. And one of the 3 reasons, he says very clearly, heightened individualism. Heightened individualism. And that's what happening today. People are becoming more and more, at least they prefer to be loners. And loners, all the possibility to be loners, L-O-A-N. And first one is L-O-N-E-R-S, alone. And the loners can be mourners. And the third aspect, in relation to my own self, who am I? John 12:24, there we are given another simple image, the grain of wheat. Unless the grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it cannot sprout into a new life and it cannot bear fruit. Yes, my brother, in relation to our own self, in reference to my own self, I am the grain of wheat that must die to the self and that must give life to the other. Death to self and life to the other. In simple words, we can say sacrifice and service. So, I am a person marked by sacrifice and service in relation to my own true self. So let us continue to reflect and see how much we are really faithful to this original situation of nobility and dignity. So tomorrow we shall continue another aspect in response to this question, who am I, in the light of consecration. And for tomorrow's meditation, we can reflect on the passage, the miraculous catch of the fish, Luke 5:4-11. So we shall reflect after the morning prayer and adoration, and I am happy that you preferred to remain silent. Good. Okay. But then you can also share something, no problem. And also I gave that passage. I said, if you read the passage, then I should give the reflection. Since nobody read, then I thought, you may not want what I have left to you. But I am happy that you could remain silent for 1 hour. Okay, that's good. But then maybe other times we insist on silence during the holy hour. Otherwise it will be talking and talking. As it happened once, one of my companions conducted the holy hour on the theme of silence, and 57 minutes he spoke on silence. These are the rare chances we get, so you can also spontaneously share, or sometimes a bhajan like that also can help us. So anyway, it's left to you. Since you are priest and then almost priest, I do not insist on priest. And that is for morning meditation and for the Mass. So we shall keep the first reading and then we shall take the passage of, maybe already we shall take on pig, or we shall reserve it for a little more time. Then we shall reflect on Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus. Luke 19, 1 to 10. Luke 19, 1 to 10. And then for the adoration, so since you have not done what was given, then you can take that Hebrews 12, 1 to 3, or if you want, you can take also the parable of the Pharisee and the publican. That is Luke 18, 9 to 14. 18, 9 to 14. And then we shall take for the 9 points 2 Timothy 2, 3 to 7. 2 Timothy 2, 3 to 7.